But for the final time, we're about to go racing in Formula E Accelerate. Freddie Rasmussen in the red and white, Penske on pole position. Alongside him is Graham Carroll. Yayovski's third. We're racing for the final time. It's a pretty decent start from Rasmussen. Yayovski, how aggressive is he going to be in the Venturi? On the run down to the hairpin left-hander, he's going to try and get round the outside, and Graham Carroll might take the lead. Rasmussen went a little bit deep, and will Carroll try and fight back? Sends a nose up the inside. Jarno Opmeer tries to go around the outside of Yayovski, can't pull it off. We're on board with Kevin Siggy, who's in fourth place. He sends it to the inside. He knows he needs to be aggressive if he's got any chance of winning that €20,000 prize that is at the end of this race, and Opmeer is not budging. They're banging wheels as they come through those two corners, and that means that getting involved now is the other Venturi car of Lawrence Herzing, that must be, going wheel to wheel and battling hard. So absolutely robust racing in the first couple of laps. Yeah, Herzing doing a great job for his teammate. There's Siggy, you can see him down in the bottom left. He has finally managed to battle up into fifth place. I think Herzing's got damage and has dropped down to 8th position. But what a frantic start that was. Rasmussen holds the lead, Carroll second, Yayovski in third. Yeah, nice and calm.
I'm not sure there's much paint left on some of those cars already. They've been going for like a minute so far, and they've already got rid of most of the paint. It's an incredible start. I mean, this track is unbelievably narrow if you've never driven it before. It's barely wide enough for two cars, and they're at full racing speed. They're swapping paint, going incredibly fast, and still making it through without anybody pointing the wrong way, nobody with massive problems.
Yeah, there is damage on in the game, so you might not sort of visibly see it. Oh, that was quite a big cloud to the wall from Rasmussen coming into the chicane. That could give an opportunity here to Graham Carroll. This is the battle for the lead, coming down towards the hairpin, and that all came from that big hit on the wall for Rasmussen. Will he have picked up a bit of damage on that? It's allowing Carroll into second and Yayovski into third. A reminder, if it stays like this, Yayovski will win the championship on having won more races than Yayovski. Here's a look at the start on board with Yayovski, and he just couldn't quite decide what to do, could he?
Yeah, it's very difficult when you sort of start any race, especially at these kind of street circuits, where you want to be committed, you want to try and make a pass, but it's double points it. You make a mistake, you fall back 4 or 5 places, and that's a really tough amount to gain back up. You know, in the end, you recover from it pretty well. You've got a Mercedes, I think, on the outside that he deals with, and yeah, falls away back in third. It's not the worst start, you know, at the end of the day. Would have liked, I'm sure, to have gone up a position, but could have gone a lot worse.
Kevin Siggy is under investigation for that action-packed opening lap, running in 5th place at the moment. Looked harmless enough to me, very robust, of course, but nothing looked too untoward, but we'll wait and see what the stewards decide. So, as I say, as it stands, Erhan Yayovski would win the championship because he has won more races than Freddie Rasmussen. But if Rasmussen was to get fastest lap, those 2 points would be enough to take him clear of Yayovski, and for this man, Rasmussen, to wrap up the title. So there is so much on the line here, and as I say, the prize pool of €20,000, no further action for Kevin Siggy, so he will remain there in 5th place, albeit a little bit out of the loop, realistically, as Rasmussen gets onto the brakes, down into the hairpin. Yeah, there's Yayovski. Now, this is this reminds me of those kind of situations where you only need, if he stays here, he's all right, but you don't want to start driving in your mirrors trying to hold on to this position.
No, absolutely not. And if you ever usually think, I'm just going to hold position or something, you never know what's going to happen. It's easy to make a little mistake. It's easy, these cars slide around quite a lot. The brakes are quite difficult. Of course, these are professionals, they know, but just the tiniest little mistake, and then you let a car pass, you've got incredibly fast drivers behind you, and suddenly you're chasing it with a couple of minutes left at the end of the race. It's not something you really want to be doing, you want to be dealing with.
I think that's a really good point. These drivers are literally professionals, a lot of them, which is easy to sort of forget. Jan van der Heide, who's running in 13th place, was really pleased with his performance last week because he finished in 7th place up against these professional sim racers, and van der Heide races a lot and is very, very good and competent, but he's also the HR manager at his local energy firm, so he has to do that during the week, looking after 150 people, and then at the weekend, or whatever one night we're on, a Thursday night, has to come and try and race these drivers who are lapping non-stop throughout the week. Manuel Biancalila first to take attack mode. That will be 2 minutes long and last for, well, it'll last for 2 minutes, evidently, and they'll go from 200 kilowatts of power to 235 kilowatts of power for those couple of minutes. They have to do it twice in the race. Freddie Rasmussen across the line, sets the fastest lap of the race, so that's crucial. That's 2 points for Rasmussen, where as it stands, he would win the championship. Yayovsky needs to try and find his way past Graham Carroll, but at the moment it's pretty equidistant between the top 4. 20 minutes remaining. Rasmussen there, Carroll in second, and Yayovsky in third. It's just, well, and this is where you have to work out, do I try and make the overtake, or do I try and do the fastest lap? And we've still got a long way to go in the race.
You've still got the energy to be thinking about with the cars as well, because energy conservation can be a very, very important part of these. You know, maybe Yayovsky is trying to save a bit of energy to try and go faster at the end. You definitely, I've seen a few cars already running out of energy in previous races, so it's something very different to think about with these cars. I'm terrible when it comes to this kind of thing. I have, you go flat out until the end of the race. I can't do the whole energy management side of things. I just want to go as fast as I can. But yeah, with this you can't. You just physically can't do that because your car is going to die with a lap to go or something.
But you'll go flat out in anything, though. That seems to be one of the big things of your YouTube channel is let's take the brakes off and go flat out.
If it has wheels, I want to race it. If that's a van, if that's a truck, go for it. That's all very well and good. Yeah, take the brakes off, do something silly with a car. Fantastic, fun. But yeah, I don't do tyre saving. I don't do energy conservation. I just want to go as quick as I can.
An old-fashioned racing driver.
Exactly.
Yeah. 19 minutes left on the clock. Manuel Biancalila then, as we just saw, gained place when Jan van der Heijden in the Nissan activated his attack mode. Martin Stefanko in the Jaguar is running 12th here. We're on board with him. Kevin Siggy is the first of the leaders to have activated an attack mode. So that's 1 down for Kevin Siggy and none for any of the rest of the front runners, really. I think Stefanko is the next furthest driver forward to have activated an attack mode so far. Rasmussen still has the fastest lap of the race set on that last lap. Carroll is 1.1 seconds back from him, and then Yayovsky's 1.5 seconds back from Carroll. So it's all just spreading out a little bit, but when they take attack mode is when it will change, because as Kevin Siggy now sets the fastest lap of the race, so that crucially takes those 2 points away from Freddie Rasmussen, which means that as it stands, Yayovsky would win the championship. That's how tight it is, that any driver in the top 10 could decide the outcome of the championship.
Yeah, when you look at fastest laps, you know, there's less than a 10th difference in there, and there's a whole bunch of drivers capable of doing those kind of lap times. It may well be that Siggy is Yayovsky's best friend by the end of this race, because that is, yeah, it's going to come down to just a couple of points. It's going to come down to that fastest lap. And, you know, sometimes you just get one of those magical laps where you just pull everything together. It's absolutely perfect. That's not quite on the perfect. Some more paint has come off that Mercedes. Again, it might manage to hold it. It's really narrow through this section. Doesn't quite get fed into the wall. Little bump. Little sort of twitch from the car. That's not a place you want to go too wide through there. Still trading paint. Still brushing against the wall. Comes out of it in the end. Siggy gets the position. Again, robust, I think, was the word that was used, and that is a similar sort of move for that one.
Yeah, Korku on the YouTube chat has said that's my word of the day is robust. So there we go. We're both using it now. How do you like that? 17 minutes to go. It was ambitious from Siggy coming up into turn 9. He's now out of attack mode, so Otmir will try and get the pass, or try and make the pass back again when he's in attack mode. This, meanwhile, is Martin Stefanko getting passed by Olli Pakala, or at least the two are side by side. Pakala did very well in qualifying, up in 9th place, and he has got the move now on Stefanko. Pakala's previous best qualifying performance was a 9th in the second round in Hong Kong, so Pakala, who finished 3rd in the Visa Vegas E-Race back at the start of 2017, is now up into 11th position in his first attack mode. It's very, the queue behind Pakala is incredibly intense. You've got Pakala, Stefanko, Biancalila, Berliak, van der Heijden, Capit, Pev, all right together. Freddie Rasmussen activates his attack mode. Is Graham Carroll going to get past? No. I think he just had enough of an advantage as you see them come over the jump. That's quite cool. And Rasmussen, crucially, keeps ahead of Carroll, because if he'd have dropped behind Carroll there, he could have lost crucial time to Yayovsky.
Yeah, you really want to be making the most of that attack mode. You know, you get a couple of minutes to use it. You don't want to have to spend half of that trying to find a way back past a car. Okay, it cycles its way through and everything, but yeah, you really can't afford to be wasting any of your attack mode in this when the differences are so close. Also, you know, you've got attack mode in clean air. If you go for a fastest lap, if you're looking for those points, that's, yeah, the best outcome possible really for Rasmussen.
Well, that's actually a very good point, and something I didn't note when Kevin Siggy set his fastest lap. That would have been in attack mode, because he was the early driver to take attack mode of the front runners. So that's also something that you're absolutely right, Rasmussen will need to take advantage of, because if he wins the race with the fastest lap and Yujovski is third, then he is the champion. 15 minutes left on the clock, and there is Freddie Rasmussen out in front. Finished runner-up in the F1 Esports Series the last couple of years, won the team's title there with Red Bull. He is a Red Bull Esports driver, and this is his first go in R Factor 2, and he's really getting on top of things after a difficult start in the first round. He's getting up to speed now, and there are so many, especially when you get to this level, there's so many differences sort of from game to game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can spend, you know, hundreds of hours learning R Factor or learning iRacing or learning Formula One even, and while an element to that, you know, a racing element is going to transfer, it's never going to be the same. They all have their own physics engine, they all have their own little behaviours that you've got to learn. I mean, I'm watching when Yujovski going through that corner, the Formula E cars, they slide quite a lot, and it's not, you don't normally see that from high-speed racing, if you like. They can make lap time or sliding the cars around. I don't know how they do it. I've tried it and had a crash trying to do it, but they can make some lap time, and it's just like you learn from each of these different games that you go to, but it is a sort of different set of skills almost you get for each one.
Right, so Graham Carroll has activated his first attack mode now as well, as has Jarno Opmeer. So Opmeer actually is the reigning F1 Esports champion, and he's struggled a little more than Freddie Rasmussen has in moving across to R Factor 2. He's got Bono Huis alongside him, although Huis is down in 19th place after a penalty put him at the back of the grid. As we go on board with Kevin Siggy, who is closing in, to be honest, on Erhan Yujovski. There's only a second or so between them. There's the fastest lap of the race for Rasmussen in attack mode, so that gives him the lead of the championship back. And if Siggy is able to get past Yujovski, then it's a very different story indeed.
Yeah, I'm wondering how aggressive Siggy is going to be in trying to get this pass done, if he can get close enough. Points-wise, it's looking difficult for Siggy to be able to take this, but you know, he's going to have to overtake, he's going to have to do these moves fairly quickly if he's going to stand any sort of chance at getting past, although Siggy's not that far clear of Opmeer either, who's still got the attack mode, and got 30 seconds left. Opmeer is almost there, he's got a really, really good run coming up over the jump. He's going to be to the outside though for this next corner. I think bobbles across there. There's still trading paint between these two, and I think Opmeer is going to get a little squeeze towards the wall. Still space alongside though, while that Mercedes is going to get the move done up the inside, and has returned the favour, I think, from the earlier little bit of paint swapping and bounce their way. The cars really throw them across the chicanes. They really do bounce. It's quite awkward. It's a bit unnatural almost to get used to the way they're flying across the chicanes, but yeah, Opmeer has got the pass done, and Yujovski has kind of stayed out of trouble. He stayed away from that scary group of cars.
Yeah, indeed. 12 minutes to go. Rasmussen leading the race, Carroll in second, Yujovski third. A great little fight with Opmeer and Siggy, and Opmeer comes out on top. This is Berliak up in front of Jan van der Heijden in their battle over 14th place. Great point from Lewis McGlade on the YouTube chat, who points out that Freddie Rasmussen is a Red Bull Esports driver. Graham Carroll is a Red Bull Esports driver, so you don't think that Carroll's going to be particularly aggressive when it comes to sort of fighting with his teammate who's fighting for the championship. Yujovski and Siggy on very different energy levels. 52% for Yujovski, 47% for Siggy, which is one of the lowest in the field.
I think Siggy has just been absolutely going for it, which, you know, when you had a little bit of a difficult qualifying session, it kind of gets to the point of, you know, you haven't got a choice at this stage. You've really got to go for it. But yeah, I think a couple of percent, it might not sound like much at this point in the race, but a couple of percent will make a huge difference come towards the end, because you're going to have to do something about it, and that may mean going slow. Oh, there's been a bump on the wall. I think that was Yujovski who has run wide and clonked the wall. That's a pretty hard hit for the car through there. It's a horrible braking zone. It's bumpy and difficult to get the car slowed down. Hopefully won't have done too much damage to the vehicle there. But yeah, that is not what he's going to have wanted, getting it slowed for that yet.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a big off, yeah.
You can see the steering's a little bit bent as well, and the back end's swinging around, and all of a sudden Jarno Opmeer, who is in attack mode behind, has an opportunity of passing Erhan Yujovski. On board we go with the North Macedonian, the driver who won the first 2 rounds of the championship, who won the last race at Electric Docks, who's been leading the championship since the first possible opportunity, because he took the first pole position of the season. Is it going to slip away from him in the final race of Formula E Accelerate, when he looked like he had a really strong advantage, 26 points clear, but double points could be coming to ruin Yayovski's day. Here's Jarno Opmeer right in the slipstream, and he's in attack mode as they come down the hill. He's going to have the extra power available to him. Is he going to make a move at the bottom of the hill coming into turn 5? Not this time around, maybe up the hill into 9. On board with Yayovski, looking back, starting the ascent up the other side now, and look how much extra power he's got. Opmeer pulls to the outside coming into turn 9. Can he get it done before the braking zone? The Mercedes and the Venturi going side by side is done already. Opmeer's up into 3rd place. That clears the way for Freddie Rasmussen, who's just taken his second attack mode to win the championship if it stays like this. But Yayovski still has another attack mode to make, but that hit of the wall could be crucial.
Yeah, absolutely could. And one of the other things that you find is when you make just a little mistake like that one, the next time you come to the corner, you're thinking about that mistake. You don't want to make that mistake again, so you brake maybe just that little bit early, or you brake that little bit differently. It can really throw you out of a rhythm. And with these street circuits, I tend to find they are, once you've sat in a rhythm, it's fine. As soon as you get out of that, you know, whether that be from a little mistake or whatever it is, you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble. It takes a few laps almost to recover, to get back into the rhythm. The thing Yayovski's got going for him is has still got good energy, one of the best energies of the cars at the front, which, as I said, back towards the end of that race may well come in handy, but you've got to have to be passing cars again, which is not always the easiest thing to do.
Michi Hoyer's giving us some insight here on the YouTube chat. He says that's it for Yayovski. He tried for the fastest lap and died, which I think is because he was in attack mode at the time.
That could be what it is, yeah.
So wise words from Michi Hoyer, who then said the suspension damage will do issues. I've lived through that in Diriyah, when Hoyer finished 21st in Diriyah after having a bit of damage in that race. Graham Carroll is in his second attack mode now, the Scottish driver. And they're all kind of coming back to a similar percentage, aren't they, of energy, bar Kevin Siggy, who's a little lower at the moment. There is Siggy running in 5th position. But a reminder, as it stands, Freddie Rasmussen would win Formula E Accelerate, 20,000 euros and a drive in the real Formula E car. Now, Siggy's already got a drive in the real Formula E car lined up for winning the Race at Home Challenge, but I can think of 20,000 other reasons that he might still want to win the championship again. With 8 minutes left on the clock, it's looking unlikely. Oh yeah, I was going to say this earlier. If Siggy, even if Siggy were to win the race, he would need Yayovski to finish 7th and Rasmussen to finish 3rd. So that's not really looking like a doable opportunity. And I wonder if he thinks the race is a lap shorter or something, because he is so short on energy. But we'll wait and see. 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's quite possible. It's one of those things it's quite easy to lose track of. It's sure you've got all of your UI going on the screen, but when you're in the heat of battle, especially when you're busy, when you're in the pack, it's really easy to just miss something that's going on with the car, whether it be the energy, whether it be the time of the race or so on. And yeah, even at this level, it is quite possible to have just missed a tiny little bit of detail, and then very difficult to rectify it when you've got 5 minutes to go.
Siggy's going to get Yayovski here, coming down the hill. Luna Park on the right-hand side. The left-hander is coming up next, and Siggy goes right the way around the outside at turn 5. Yayovski still holds it on the inside, but has to bail out of it. And Erhan Yayovski now goes to activate his second attack mode, so maybe that's why he got out of it. He's going to be passed by Nikodem Brzezinski up the hill. No, not quite, but that is a second attack mode then for both Kevin Siggy and for Erhan Yayovski. So they've all taken their second attack mode now of the front runners, and all of a sudden the North Macedonian is down into 5th position, and Freddie Rasmussen, who said after the last race at Electric Docks, I don't know what to do, I don't know why my energy consumption was so poor, certainly seems to have got a handle on it this time, because him and Graham Carroll are 8 seconds clear of everybody else.
They're just having their own little race. It does help, you know, when it's nothing better when you're out in front of a race, you look behind, you see all the cars battling. You know, when you've got that clean air, you don't have to worry about anything. You can run your own race, run your own lap times. You're not worrying about do I have to attack, do I have to defend. They've been having a huge battle over 3rd place, and you know, it's so easy to drop 1, 2, 3 seconds just in a lap because you're fighting, you're attacking, you're defending. You can see they're still going at it for every position available around this circuit.
Yeah, this is Kuba Brzezinski running in 7th place, up behind Nikodem Brzezinski. Brzezinski's best result of the season so far is a 9th place, so if he could get up into 6th, that would be a really tremendous end to the season for the Jaguar driver, who I'm a bit surprised actually he hasn't had a stronger season. Obviously it's a very strong field, but he won the 24 Hours of Le Mans LMP2 class last summer with Isaac Price and Nikodem Wisniewski. He was third in Formula Sim Racing back in 2015, so a real top quality driver, Brzezinski, but these really are the best of the best. Muller is out of the race, so Muller racing no more. Here comes Brzezinski to the outside of the DS Techeetah of Nikodem Wisniewski into 9. And Wisniewski holds the place for the time being. Now, less than 5 minutes to go. Squabbles, as you say, going on all the way throughout the order, but Rasmussen leading with fastest lap, with Yayovsky in 5th, who's in attack mode, but hasn't been able to get back ahead of Siggy. We're on board with him here. Siggy's pulling away. I think this is looking, with 4.5 minutes to go, more and more like it's going the way of Freddie Rasmussen.
Yeah, it's quite possible if there is a little bit of damage on Yayovsky's car that it just becomes that bit more difficult to drive, and you can't overdrive the car here. You really can't afford. There's no margin for error around this sort of circuit, and if it is ailing a little bit from that big clonk on the wall, overdrive, you're going to make it worse. And I mean, he closed up a little bit in attack mode, but it's never going to be enough. If anything, he may have to be worried about the cars behind. It looked like they might be a little too far back. They might be fighting each other a little bit too much at the moment, but yeah, there's a lot to think about going on these last sort of few minutes of the race. Although, of course, Siggy's maybe brought back a little bit of the energy, but there's always going to be sort of playing on their mind at that point.
As you say, 3.5 minutes to go. Closing stages of the final round of Formula E Accelerate. Yayovsky coming down to the bottom of the hill. There you can see him on the left-hand side. And he's sort of looking fairly resigned, isn't he? Deep breaths, and as he climbs up the hill, a mop of the brow. Quite a lot of lag on his webcam, but maybe that's his reason this time. But a little bit wide in front for Kevin Siggy, but Yayovsky, he's got to get back 2 places and the fastest lap of the race. He hasn't got any attack modes left, so realistically, oh no, sorry, he's only got to get back up 2 places. No, more than that, because Rasmussen has set the fastest lap of the race. And Rasmussen's fastest lap of the race is 1.3 seconds quicker than anyone else's. The second fastest lap was Jarno Opmeer on a 32.7. Rasmussen's done a 31.4 during attack mode. Apologies, Olli Pakala did a 32.2. So 0.8 of a second was the nearest driver to Freddie Rasmussen. He's absolutely in the zone today.
Well, when they're like qualifying times, there was less than 0.8 seconds between first to 10th.
Yeah.
And you're managing to do that in the race between first and anybody else. That must have been an as I was saying about that, sometimes you get just that absolutely perfect lap. That must have been that one. Shame we kind of didn't see that, because that would have to be absolutely on it to do that sort of speed.
Yeah, very good at one-lap paces, Freddie Rasmussen. I remember so many pole positions for him in the F1 Esports series over the last few years, before now racing in this Formula E Accelerate series on R Factor 2. All of the tracks that you've seen over the course of the series can be raced, so if you want to get on R Factor 2 and get into some downloadable content, then that's all possible. Here's Nikodem Wisniewski coming through attack mode to activate it for the second time. Kuba Brzezinski following through as well. They're in 6th and 7th positions. Gasnes is in 8th, Herzing's in 9th, Gollenbeck is in 10th position as Wisniewski comes through the left-hander and then down the hill into the right-hander with 1.5 minutes to go. Things are looking better and better for Freddie Rasmussen. Siggy, as you say, has managed to sort of recoup some of that energy. He's in 4th place, but about 3 seconds behind Jarno Opmeer in 3rd.
Yeah, I just watched those cars go through the chicane, and I think every single one just lightly brushed the wall on their way through. Everyone is using every little bit of track they can get away with, and a little bit more that they probably shouldn't be getting away with, but can kind of just about do it. I think there's a jag up there. Brzezinski is looking close to the car's head. It's a very tight group you've got going on here, but you can never really have, the cars are very, very similar, you can never really have a big dive under brakes because you haven't got that bigger advantage. So you've got to really line it up, and no one's really got any attack mode advantage. The two cars closest together are both in attack mode, so no one's quite going to be in the right place, I don't think, to have a look, but you never know with this sort of stuff.
Freddie Rasmussen's onto the final lap. He's coming down the hill now, and then about to come up the hill the other side, actually. Such is his advantage over the rest of the field with 30 seconds left on the clock. This will be the final lap. Wisniewski almost getting hit by Brzezinski. The two poles going head-to-head. But here is Freddie Rasmussen. He had he was the quickest driver in open qualifiers, was Freddie Rasmussen. But then in the opening round of the season, choked a little bit in the first qualifying session. Here's Brzezinski and contact with Brzezinski again. Those two going wheel to wheel. Tough stuff.
Jack's have a look around the outside. We've seen so many people trying to get around the outside. We haven't really seen much of Rasmussen. He's just been out in front, a little bit wide.
Yeah, this is the last lap, Freddie. Keep it cool. He goes very, very wide into the hairpin. As I say, he didn't have the strongest start to his campaign. Only finished 9th in the first race in New York City. Now Brzezinski has got ahead of Wisniewski, but since then Rasmussen hasn't been off the podium. 2nd in Hong Kong, 2nd in Berlin, 1 in Diriyah, 3rd in Electric Docks. But now he's going to come through the final 2 corners to take the race win in Rome. What a superb performance from Freddie Rasmussen. And if Yayovski, that will give him 143 points in the championship. And if Yayovski comes across the line in that 5th position, he will only have 131. Here comes Siggy. Valiant effort from Kevin Siggy. He's across the line in 4th. It is 5th for Erhan Yayovski. Freddie Rasmussen is the Formula E Accelerate champion. He wins 20,000 euros out of the 100,000 euro prize pot. He wins a drive in the real world Formula E car, and the normally unflappable Dane, maybe, just maybe, will be delighted with this result. And what a way to win the championship. We were talking about, you know, Yayovski winning it earlier on and, just hang on to 3rd and try and get a fastest lap and whatever. Freddie Rasmussen, bam.
Yeah, he did exactly what needed to do. Qualified on pole and drove away from the rest of the field. He didn't have to worry about other people, didn't have to deal with, hoping somebody else gets fast lap away. He just did absolutely everything he needed to, and yeah, just pushing a little too hard would get the better.
Kevin Siggy, who's had a haircut this week in preparation for the final, not sort of, actually in preparation, but just coincidentally, and still smiling and clapping. The 4th position finish, and he will still be getting his drive in a real-world Formula E car for winning Race at Home Challenge. But here's a look at the classification after round 6. Freddie Rasmussen takes the win. Graham Carroll finishing in 2nd, easily his best performance of the season so far. Jarno Opmeer in 3rd place for his first podium, and a best result as well for Opmeer. His previous best was 5th last time out in Electric Docks. Siggy in 4th. Erhan Yayovski slipped from 3rd at the start to 5th. Brzezinski and Wisniewski we saw battling hard over 6th and 7th positions. Pakala set a very fast lap during that race, but only managed 13th. Peter Berliak 14th. Von der Heide 15th. Bono Huis climbed from 24th up into 16th at the end. Artur Leyuk in 18th position. Tamer Benchik 21st, Honzik 22nd, Jiayu Zhang 23rd, Lucas Müller finishing, not finishing, 6 laps after the end of the race. Championship standing wise, there is Freddie Rasmussen at the top of the championship. He wins it by 12 points in the end over Erhan Yayovski. Yayovski has led the standings from the first qualifying sessions back at the start of January, and now is the first time he has not been at the top of the standings, and it's when it matters. Kevin Siggy 3rd, Graham Carroll with that great result at the end, pulling himself up to 4th in the championship standings. He was 10th at the start of this race. Nikodem Wisniewski in 6th, Golombek in 7th place after his form faded away a little after some strong performances earlier in the season. And as far as the team's championship is concerned, this combines the real-world Formula E driver races as well. So that win for Eduardo Mortara helping Erhan Yayovski and Lorenz Herzing to help Rocket Venturi Racing win the title. A huge thanks to Alex Failrace for joining me on commentary. We'll be watching him take on the New York City leaderboard track a little bit later on. But for now, let's hear from the champion of Formula E Accelerate, Darren.
Yes, that is the trophy, and this is the winner. Freddie Rasmussen, congratulations. You are the champion of Formula E Accelerate. How are you feeling?
I'm really happy. I can't believe it, to be honest. I didn't have any standings. I couldn't see where Erhan was during the race. So when I got out of the car and I see him P5, it was just a shock. I can't believe it.
Freddie, is that a choice to not have the standings and to not know where your rivals are, or was it accidental?
No, I just haven't mapped the button. But intentional.
Well, I think that actually highlights a really important point, that you came into FIA Accelerate not really that familiar with R Factor 2. And I mean, look at where you are now. What has the whole journey been like for you?
It's been a huge learning curve and a massive comeback, really, really big comeback. I mean, where was I after race 1? I think I was P9 after race 1. So from P9 to win it, it's just insane.
And what you're going to get a chance to drive the real Formula E car. Have you done much real world race car driving?
Basically nothing, and I'm in bad shape, so I'm gonna have to do something about that.
Well, another prize that you have is, of course, the 20,000 euros. Have you already planned out what you want to spend it on?
I'm trying to buy an apartment. That's about it, I think. I'm kind of a saving guy.
Okay, well, that's what a wholesome answer. Freddie, from everybody here at Formula E Accelerate, a huge congratulations. Absolutely brilliant performance.
A brilliant performance.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.